Hey, what's up guys, CodefForge here. Welcome in the next video. Today we'll learn how to create template-driven sign-in page like this one. We will also learn about the validation of the form. So right now we have the empty form. If we click the sign-in button, we can see that we are getting the error message that the form is empty. If we provide the wrong data and we click sign in, we will get the information that we have invalid user or password. If you use the correct one and we will also implement it, we'll be navigated to our application with the navigation bar displayed, which was not present on the sign-in page. Inside we can navigate between different sub-pages. So we have two here, home and statistics. And also we can log out, clicking this logout button over here, and we are being navigated to the sign-in page again. We'll also learn about protecting our routes. So if we try to access to our home subpage in our application without authenticating, we can see that we are being navigated back to the sign-in page. To achieve this, we'll use Angular guards feature. So let's start coding. We will start with generating new project. We will use Angular CLI. And this is the command. The name of the application will be login page demo. We want to set styles to SCSS. We will set the prefix to CF, and we also want to generate the routing because it will be necessary to create a login application. Okay, so I will hit enter and I will come back to you when the project will be ready. Here we are, the project has been generated and it is up and running. And before we start, we will add the Bootstrap and the jQuery to our project. We will install it as the node modules, so let's open the second terminal over here. And we want to say npm install Bootstrap. And after a few seconds, it should be installed. Okay, it's here, and we also need jQuery, so we say npm install jQuery. And we have to wait again. So it is good. You can also run this npm audit fix, but we'll skip it for now. And we want to open angular.json file. First thing we want to add is Bootstrap styles. So we go to this architect section. Inside we have the build section, and you have to find this styles array under the assets. So we have to give the path to the node module. So it will be node underscore modules slash bootstrap slash dist slash css slash bootstrap dot min dot css. We have the styles. We also want to add bootstrap.js files, so we'll copy this line of code. We will paste it over here in the scripts array. We'll paste it, and we want to change one thing, and this is this CSS. We want to replace with JS, and also we want to change the extension of this file. Last thing is jQuery script, so we will add it before the bootstrap JS file, and we will remove this bootstrap and put the jQuery over here. This will stay. We want to get rid of the CSS, and we want to change the bootstrap to jQuery min JS. You may wonder what are those paths. So we have installed the bootstrap and the jQuery as the node module, and we are giving the path to these files. So basically, if you open the node modules and you will look for bootstrap, it's over here. We can see that in the bootstrap and slash dist, we have the CSS and JS directories, and over here are leaving the files, and we are using these paths over here to attach it to our project. Let's hide it. So setup part is almost ready. Now we have to save the file and restart our application. This is because changes made in the Angular JSON will not be detected. And later on we can open our application in the web browser. Okay, our application is running, so we can make small test. We'll go to app, and here we will open our main component. We'll remove everything from here, and we'll leave only the router dash outlet, and also we'll give some text over here. Let's say h1 with the text hello. If we save it, yes, and the Bootstrap is working because the font is different. Instead of this text hello, we want to have a navigation bar, so we will go to this getbootstrap.com page, and over here in the examples sub page we have these navbar sections, and if we open it up we can see that we have different navbars to use, and if we hit Ctrl U on this page we can see the sources, so we can take one of them. Let's find the navbar, expand MD, this one. Let's copy it and let's paste it over here. Remember about that to keep this router outlet over here, because this is the place where our components will be displayed. Let's adjust this navigation bar a little bit, so we don't need the search bar, so we'll get rid of this. And we also don't need the drop down menu, so we'll get rid of this over here. You can also change the title over here, so we'll call it login app. And for now I think it's good. We will make some more adjustments later. Oh, let's get rid of this also. We can save the file and check out if it works. So here is our navigation bar, and if we click the burger menu nothing happens. So let's check the console, and over here we have an error that says cannot convert object to primitive value. This is because version of the jQuery which we have installed is not compatible with the version of the Bootstrap which we are using. So all we have to do is to downgrade jQuery from the version 3.5.0 to the version 3.4.1. And to do it we can say npm install jQuery at 3.4.1. We hit enter, and after a few seconds it should work. So I have restarted the application, and we can see that right now our navigation bar is working correctly, and also we are not getting any errors, only some warnings from the DevTools, so it's all good. So now let's generate login page component and let's try to display it. So we want to generate new component using CLI, so we say ng generate component and let's call it login. We hit enter, and after a few seconds it should appear. It's over here. And now we want to display it, so we have to go to the uprooting module.ts, and over here in the routes array we have to create a new object, and this object will have two properties. First one will be path, and we want to set it to the empty string, and the second one will be component, and we want to set it to the login component which we have created. And now if we save it, login works appears, so it works. And now we want to make it pretty, so we will go to the getbootstrap.com page, and over here in the example sub page we have this sign in form, so let's open it. Let's hit Ctrl U, and over here we'll take the sign in page. So we'll take it and we'll go to our login page and paste it over here. We don't need image, so we can remove it, and let's save it. and it's here. Let's make a few adjustments. So first of all, we want to wrap our form into the div element with the class card, which comes from the Bootstrap. And inside this div element, we want to use card body class, which also comes from the Bootstrap. So we will move this form inside. And let's maybe also add another one. And let's call it login wrapper. And let's put everything in there. So let's save it. Now it looks better, and using this login wrapper class we'll add some spacing, some margins. Let's open the login component SCSS and we'll specify rule for this class. So we say login wrapper and we want to set margin for the 20 rems and auto. Oh, I forgot this one. And the second rule will be width, and we'll set this width to the fixed size, so it will be 20 rem. And if we save it, we have some spacing, okay? Before adding some spacing between the inputs, let's first remove this footer. And also we don't need these remember me options because we will not implement remember me options today. Okay, so now we need some spacing between the inputs and between the input and the button. So we can do it by simply adding the rule for the input element and setting the margin bottom property to 2 rems, and if we save it, it looks good. So we are done with the CSS for now. Let's go back to the login component.html. Let's add some spacing between the sections. And over here, we will use the email address, of course, and the password. But we have to add also the name attribute. So it will be name, and we'll call it email. And we'll do exactly the same for the password. So we are adding the attribute password. Oh, and we have to use quotes. I forgot. And also here. Okay. We need these names because we want to use the ngModel directive. So we want to say ngModel at the end over here and also over here. So we will be able to pass the values from these fields to our class. We also have to create a variable for our entire form, and to do it we'll use hash SignIn form, and we want to assign to it ngForm. So now we are able to handle the ngSubmit event. And we can assign to this event our method, which we'll create, and it will be called onSubmit, and we can pass our form to it as the parameter. Okay. If we save it right now, it will fail, and this is because we are not declaring onSubmit method in our login component TS. So let's do it. We want to call it onSubmit, and we will receive SignIn form, which is the type of ngForm. And we are not seeing this because we have to add the import in our app module. In the imports array over here at the bottom, we want to add forms module, and we have to import it over here also. So we have to say import forms module from Angular/forms. Now we can save it. We can go back to our login component. Now ngForm should be visible. And it is. So now let's console log the values from the sign in form. Let's save it. And now we can finally save our template. So we hit Ctrl S and it's good. Let's try it. We say johndoe@mail.com and some password. Let's say test123. Let's open the console. Let's clear it and let's hit sign in. And we can see that email and the password is being passed to our method, so it's good. By the way, this approach of creating forms in Angular is called template-driven forms. We also have the reactive approach, but we'll not cover it in this video. Now we want to create authentication service, so we cd into source app. Inside we want to create a directory called service. And we want to navigate in there, and we want to say ng generate service. We want to call it authentication, and it should be placed in the directory of the same name. We hit enter and it should be generated. Let's check it out, and it's inside. Great. We also want to create a second directory, and this time it will be called model, and inside we'll create a new class which will be called SignInData.ts, and inside we want to create a class that will represent our sign-in data, so email and password. We will have two properties inside. It will be private email, which will be the type of string, and also private password with the same type. We also need constructor with the email and the password. And in the body of our constructor, we'll assign email to our email, and also we'll do the same for the password. Since our properties are private, we also need getters, so we'll get email and we want to return this email, and we want to do the same for the password, so we say get password. It will return string, and we want to return this password. So our model data is good. We can save it and go back to our login component.ts. First of all, we want to inject our authentication service. In the constructor, so do it like this. We can move to the onSubmit method, and over here, first of all, we want to create a new variable which will be the type of const. It will be called SignInData, and we want to assign to it new object. So we say new SignInData. This is the class which we have created, and the first parameter, argument, will be SignInForm value email, and the second argument will be SignInForm value password. Since we have login data, now we want to pass it to the authentication service, so we have to use this keyword. And now our service is not visible because we forgot to add private. And now we can call authentication service, and inside authentication service we will have methods that will be called authenticate, and we want to pass their sign-in data. So now we can navigate to our service and implement authenticated method. So under the constructor, we want to say authenticate, and it will accept SignIn data, which will be the type of SignIn data, and our authenticate method will return Boolean. In this video, we will not call any external services, so we will mock the user in this class. So we'll say here private read-only mocked user, and we want to create a new object, and we'll have the email first, and it will be johndoe@mail.com, and the password will be test123. Oh, I used wrong notation. Okay, now it's good. We will also create isAuthenticated property, which we will use later to control visibility of our navigation bar. So we say isAuthenticated, and by default our user is not authenticated, so we want to set it to false. Let's go back to the authenticate method, and over here first of all we want to use the if statement. In the if statement we will call method, which will be called check credentials, and over there we want to pass our sign-in data. Okay, and if the credentials are correct, we want to set this is authenticated to true, and we want to return true. Otherwise, we want to set this is authenticated to false, and we want to return false. Now we can implement our check credential method. So we go under the authenticate method, and over here we'll say it's private, and it will accept sign-in data, which is the type of sign-in data, and it will return Boolean. In the real example, this check credential method should probably call some web service that is responsible for authenticating our users, and maybe even it should return some token which we can use to keep the session up. But we will simply check our user with the mocked user. Let's first create some helper methods because we want to check email and the password. So we will say private check email, and it will receive email that will be the type of string, and it will return Boolean also. And the second method will be private check password, and it will do the same. So we will have the password as the parameter, which will be the type of string, and we want to return Boolean. In the check email method, we want to return in the first place, and we want to check if the past email is equal to the mocked user get email. And in the case of the check password, we want to return if the password is equal to this mocked user get password. And now in the check credentials method, we can simply say return this check email, and we want to pass sign-in data get email, and we want to check the second condition using the AND operator, and we want to say this check password, and we want to pass sign-in data get password. So now we want to generate two components to test out our sign-in page. Let's open new terminal window, and over here in the first place we want to navigate to the source app, and over here we want to say ng generate component, and the first one will be called home. And let's wait a few seconds. Okay, it's here, and the second one will be statistics. And it's also here. Okay. Let's adjust our navigation bar right now. So we go to the app component.html, and over here, instead of href attribute, we want to use router link, and we want to set it to home, and it's already home, so it's good. And we want the second link, and we also want to use the router link, and we want to set it to the statistics, and we want to change the text from the link to the statistics. Okay, and also let's copy this one from here and paste it over here. So when we click the login app logo, we will be moved to the home. To make it work, we have to adjust our routing module, and here in the routes array we have to create two more objects, and first one will be path set to home, and it will display component called home component. And the second one will have path set to statistics, and the component which will be displayed will be statistics component, like this, and we need this over here. So now if we save it, and also if we save the app component HTML, we can test out our navigation bar. So let's open it, and over here if we click home, we are being navigated to the home, and if we click statistics, we will be navigated to the statistics. But now user doesn't have to log in, and he has full access to it, and also the navbar is visible, so now we want to prevent it. So let's go back to the SignIn page. And to disable navbar on the SignIn page, we have to navigate to the app component.ts file. Over here we have to create a constructor in the first place, so we say constructor, and we want to inject our authentication service, so we say authentication, which is the type of authentication service. By the way, it should be public, so we say public. And now we can take this authentication service, copy it, and go to the app component.html file, and over here on the nav HTML element we can use the ngIf. So we say ngIf, and we want to set it to the authentication service is authenticated property. If we save it, user right now is not authenticated and we cannot see the navigation bar. But if we log in, so we will use johndoe@mail.com, and we will provide the password test123, and we will sign in. We can see that navigation bar appears, but it will be also nice to navigate to the home page instead of staying on this login page. To do it, we can go to the authentication service over here, and in the first place we want to inject router, which is the type of router. And now if the credentials are okay in this if statement, under the this is authenticated set to true, we want to say this router, and we want to say navigate, and we want to pass our home path. Before we will test it out, let's change the content of the home component. I will paste a simple jumbotron from the Bootstrap, and also let's do the same for the statistics component. So let's go over here, and instead of home we'll say statistics. So we want to save this one and also this one here. So now if we log in, we should be navigated to the home page. So we say johndoe@email.com, password test123, sign in, and over here is our home page. And we can also navigate to the statistics. Cool. It would be nice to also have a logout option, so let's go back to the Authentication Service, and over here at the end of the class we want to say logout. This is the name of the method, and all this method will do is to say this is authenticated, we want to set it to false, and we want to use the router, so we say this router navigate, and we want to navigate to the home page, I mean sign-in page. So we are passing empty string. Let's save it and let's go to the app component TS file, and over here we'll say logout, and our logout method in the app component class will call the logout from the Authentication Service. So we'll do this that way. Now we can go to the app component HTML file, and over here under this unordered list element with the navbar nav mr auto classes, we'll create another unordered list, and it will be navbar nav class, and also this time it will be margin left set to auto, because we want to float the logout button to the right. And inside we'll have li element, so it's the list item, and it will be nav item, and also we'll add the pointer class, and inside we will have anchor with the nav link class, and we don't need the href element, but we need the click event, and we want to set it to our logout method, which we have created in our component class. And over here we say logout. It's almost done. We can save it and go to the SCSS file, and over here we want to set the rule for the pointer class, and we want to set the cursor to the pointer. Let's save it. Let's test it out. So we say johndoe@mail.com, password will be test123. We want to sign in, and now we can see that we are on the home page. We have the logout over here, and if we make it bigger, we can see that the logout is floating to the right, and we can click the logout button, and we are being navigated again to the sign-in page. Cool. Now we'll add authentication guard to prevent navigating to our internal routes, and what I mean by that is now we are able to navigate, for example, to the home page like this, and you can see that we are on the home page, and we are not seeing the navigation bar because we are not authenticated, of course, but we can also go to the statistics, and we are here on the statistics, and we want to prevent it, and we want to navigate there only the users that are authenticated. We want to open new console over here. In the first place we want to navigate to the source app, Over here we want to create new directory that will be called guards, and we want to navigate there, so we want to say cd guards. Now to generate the guard we want to use the Angular CLI, so we say ng generate guard and we want to call it auth guard. We hit enter, and now Angular CLI will ask us which interface our authentication guard should implement, and we can see that the can activate interface is selected by default. We can uncheck it, we can check it again using spacebar, and to generate the auth guard we hit enter, and after a few seconds it's here in our guards directory. Implementation of our auth guard will be really simple. In the first place we want to inject here our authentication service using the constructor, so we say constructor, and inside we want to say private authentication service, which is the type of authentication service. Okay, and now we go to the can activate method, which comes from the interface can activate. Inside we want to check if our user is authenticated, so we use the if statement, and we can use our authentication service, and our authentication service has isAuthenticated property, which stores boolean that says if the user is authenticated or not. And if our user is authenticated we want to return true, and if it's not we want to return the false. There is one thing to do, and this is when the user is not authenticated and he wants to navigate to the home or statistics page. We want to navigate him back to the SignIn page, and to do it we have to inject the router. So we say private router, which is the type of router. And in the case when the user is not authenticated we want to say this router navigate, and as the argument we are passing array with empty string, and this empty string is our SignIn page. It looks good, so we can save the file and navigate to our routing module over here. So we go to the app routing. Over here we want to protect the home path, which displays home component, and statistics path, which displays statistic component. And to do it we can use our auth guard which we have created. So we say can activate, and we are setting it to the array, and we are passing our auth guard which we have created, and we want to do exactly the same for the statistics. Oops. So we say can activate, we are passing the array and our auth guard. Oops, this one. So now let's save it and let's try to navigate to the home page like before. So we say /home, and you can see that we are being navigated to the SignIn page, and this is because we are not authenticated. If we do the same for the statistics, we can see that we are also being navigated back to the SignIn page, and this is because our paths are being protected by this authentication guard. So now let's try to log in to check if everything works. So it was johndoe@mail.com, password was test123. We sign in and we can see that the navigation bar appears. We are on the home page. We can navigate to the statistics, and also we can log out. So everything works as expected. We can improve one more thing in our application before we finish, and it is this SignIn page, because you can see right now if we click sign in we don't have any error message that the form is empty or anything else. So let's go to the login component HTML file over here. We want to add two messages over here, and we'll use alerts from the Bootstrap. So in the form, under the button, we want to say div, And our div will have the alert class and also the alert danger class. Those classes are coming from the Bootstrap itself. And we also require a role attribute, which is set to the alert. And we will also add ngIf over here. And we'll set this ngIf to isFormValid property, which we will create in our login component TS file. And over here in the body of this message, we want to say, please fill all fields. We also want to copy this message and paste it over here. First message will be displayed when user will try to click the sign in button when the form is empty. And the second div element will display error message when the login or password will be invalid. So we want to change this ngIf to the different property, and we'll say are credentials invalid. It's not valid, it's invalid. And we want to say in the body of the message invalid user or password. So we can save it. We got some errors, and this is because our properties are not existing right now. So let's create them. We go to the login component.ts file, and here at the beginning of our class we want to say isFormValid, and we want to set it to the false by default. And also the second one was our credentials invalid, and we want to also set it to false. Now if we save it, should be good. Yes, we don't have any errors right now. Now we can improve our onSubmit method. So in the first place, let's get rid of this console log over here, and instead we want to use the if statement. In the if statement, we want to use negation, and we want to check if our sign-in form is valid. Before we proceed, we will change this name of the property from the isFormValid to invalid, so it will be more accurate. And we'll copy it and paste it also over here. And we'll save it. Okay. And we'll save this one also. We'll enter this if statement if the form will be invalid, and form will be invalid when one of the inputs will be empty, and it is being checked thanks to that required attribute on the input element. So if the form is invalid, so one of the inputs is empty, we want to set this isFormInvalid to true, and this are credentials invalid to false. And we want to return to prevent any other actions. So now we can save it. If the form is valid, so we have all the inputs filled, we want to check the credentials. So let's create a new method which will be responsible for checking credentials and also handling the error if the credentials are invalid. So we say private check credentials, and it will accept sign in form as the parameter, and it will be the type of ngForm. Now we can move creation of sign in data object from the onSubmit method to the check credentials, and also we want to use if statement after this, and we want to paste there our sign in data. Now we want to negate the output of the authenticate method, so we use the negation. And if authentication will fail, so we will get the false from the authenticate method, we'll negate it and we will get true. And then we want to display the credentials invalid error message, so we say this isFormInvalid set to false to remove previous message, and these are credentials invalid to true. And now all we have to do is to call this check credentials method in our onSubmit method and pass our sign-in form. We can save it right now and test it out. So let's provide some wrong values. Let's say test. And if you click sign in, we can see that we get the please fill all fields. And let's say we'll use the test here also. We click the sign in and we can see that we have the invalid user or password. And now let's try to use the correct one. So we say joindoe@mail.com and we say test 1, 2, 3, we hit sign in and we are good to go. So everything works. Let's also adjust the spacing between the button and the message. So we'll go to the SCSS file of the login and over here for the button element, we'll add margin bottom like before, set to 2 rems. And now if we save it, we click the sign in, we can see that we have the spacing between the button and the message. Great. Okay guys, so this is all I have prepared for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you liked the video, remember about liking it and subscribing to my channel, and see you next time.